Flat? Yeah.
For some reason, it's been very horribly difficult for me to actually experience sort of the loss of Hanan from the perspective that I always seem to get derailed from these moments. Last year when he passed, I was in New York, and I'm not quite sure what happened with the Shloshim, but I had another situation where life on the ground seems to derail me from sort of experiencing it. And then today also I've had just an insane day, and it took a lot of motivation to be here. But I'm really glad that I am. And I have a tendency to push out things like loss. I mean, I'm not real good with sadness. I don't really experience it all that much, and my reaction to it, to difficult times, tends to always be to focus on the positive, and that sort of gets me through. And so number one, I just want to say thank you for these types of occasions, because they do give you an opportunity to go deeper, and for myself to go deeper. And I want to share something I did have an opportunity to give over about Hanan, I think shortly after the Shloshim, which was the last real experience I had with Hanan was 2 or 3 months before he passed, and I was visiting with him at his home, and we had a conversation which was very much came out of what I feel like was the constant conversation I was having with Hanan. I mean, here's this man who used to sit in that seat that Gedaliah's in, and he would, whenever I would come into the shul, he would turn, and he would have the most warm, welcoming face, and he would reach out and he would grab my hand and he would kiss the back of my hand, and it was so, ironic and deep, because I'm such a schlepper, and he was just such a very, the greatest drosh giver I've ever experienced. So learned and such a, what was being given over by Rabbi Feldman about Anava, without a doubt, that's the way I would describe him. Every moment of the day. And this is a person who just radiated so much love in so many directions so often that I always struggled with this conversation I always had with him, which was, I would, for me, in the love of Hashem, fear of Hashem dichotomy, love of Hashem is very, very easy for me, very, very easy. And fear of Hashem is very, very difficult for me. I relate to Hashem a lot like I relate to my mother. At the end of the day, she always loves me. I'm always the firstborn. And frankly, I have a hard time getting out of that relationship with Hashem. And to a certain extent, it holds you back. Because if it's going to be okay anyway, it definitely has a tendency to possibly hold you back. And he used to say to me the opposite. For him, fear of Hashem was very, very easy, and love of Hashem was very, very difficult. And I thought that was, I gave this over to a certain extent about 10 months ago. But I did a lot more thinking about it today. I always thought that was remarkable. How could somebody who had so much love so often, so much humility, such giving all the time, have such a difficult time with love of Shem? And I was thinking about it. It triggered from what Rabbi Feldman was just saying about the anava. We think about everything when we say when we apologize before Yom Kippur. It's not only a matter of asking for forgiveness from God, but it's also asking for forgiveness from our fellow Jews and our fellow human beings. And so there's this relationship, there's the up and down relationship between you and God, and there's the side-to-side relationship of you and God's creatures. And, they both go in both directions. There's times when you're giving, there's times when you're receiving, horizontally and vertically. Hanan was just I think in terms of the up and down relationship, I think he was so humble that his vessel was just constantly receiving light. And he was constantly giving it out this way. I mean, he was constantly giving it out to all of us. And I don't think he ever had the time to interrupt all that light that was coming down because he was too busy giving it out, in every direction. And when I spoke to him, that day at his house, he said, I've always struggled with love of Hashem, but I really feel it now. And he really felt it when he was at his most. I mean, I remember giving him a hug on my way out, and he was so fragile. I was worried I was going to hurt him from, the hug. I mean, that's sort of where he was at that time. And I asked, well, why is it that time? And I think, at that point, as strong as he was, and I've heard so many stories of just the immense heroism of sort of the way he dealt with a great deal of physical pain, and still managed to be such a teacher during that time. I also think he finally took like a pause, pause, everyone, a pause to actually just have his relationship and to really experience it and feel God's love for him. One of the things that I said to him at the time is I told him that I would, I would work on my fear of Hashem, and I have to say that's very much a work in progress. But I do want to recommit to that again today, in the merit of him, who is probably the greatest teacher I've ever had. And I want to say also that I bless him up in the heavens to just really feel that love all the time, every moment, every second. Thank you. I mean, I miss you so much.